Welcome back. Do remember, all our top stories can be found on our website, and that's channelstv.com, and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Log on to m.channelstv.com to see us live on your mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS, and Windows phones from their respective stores. Besides the news and updates, the Channels TV app has an eyewitness feature. We encourage you to use it to share those pictures, videos, or news of happenings around you. Just install the app, then tap and swipe to reveal the eyewitness menu and follow the instructions. And to the southwest now, and what has become a natural disaster. Some people are taking stock as floodwaters recede 24 hours after the heavy rainfall in Osogbo, the Osun State capital. No help has come from the emergency agencies or the state authorities, as at the filing of this report. Our correspondent who returned there today says there's a massive destruction of property as the rains begin to recede. The flooding has left one person dead. A woman and her daughter were trapped in a store, just as many of the residents around one of the communities were stranded after a bridge collapsed. And now to take a look at this situation in Osun State, which has become quite dire, as we showed you and we understand. And now joined on the program by an environmentalist, Professor Oladapo Afolabi. Thank you so much for speaking with us on News Across Nigeria.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Very good afternoon to you. There were several warnings of flooding from agencies such as the Nigeria Meteorological Agency, and we still had this situation in Osun State. What did we fail to do?
Well, flooding, especially flash flooding, usually is quite historical, even around Osun or the Osun River Basin area generally. But in situations like in the cities, as you have in Osogbo, you have the development of the city area encroaching on the river courses. So when these warnings are given, what is required is such that it dislocates the social fabrics. That is why what really should be done are usually not done. For example, with the warning and the situation of the river course in Osogbo, one would expect that the inhabitants would be evacuated for that period, but there was no evacuation. One would expect that there will be emergency channelization so that the river course again can be deepened and widened and better trained. So when you have this type of flash flooding, the impact, the spread of the flood will not be as devastating as we have now. Of course, let me say this, even the best of time, where in advanced countries, where you have flash flooding that is beyond the drainage capacity of the soil, you always have this type of events. But these ones are preventable. The ones that we have around us, they are not as massive and impactful as the kind of impact that they have. One would have expected that we have evacuation, we have proper training of the water course, so there's free flow of water.
Professor, you just described it as a flash flood. It happened just in 3 hours of precipitation. Could it have been much worse?
Well, usually when you have heavy downpour, the type of rain that we have in the southwest, which are really heavy and striking, even 1 hour of heavy rainfall is enough to cause a lot of damage when you do not train your water course. That 2 or 3 hours of rainfall, one will expect this type of massive impact. For example, when I was a lot younger than now, I grew up in Ibadan. There's a stream called Yemetu. It's a tributary of Ogunpa. this river course, when we were young, had gardens along it, it has trees, and there was a lot of a protected area where you could not have farming, where you could not build houses. The water was flowing clean all the while. Then when people started encroaching on the banks, destroyed the trees that they used to protect the bank, we started having annual flooding. And it's been relieved a little now when we have Ogopa canalization. I think it could be worse, really, from your question, it could be worse, and it could get worse unless we do what we need to do. Train the water course and get the water to flow more freely.
That being the case, Professor, and obviously our sincere condolences to the family that lost a person. We understand that there's been one fatality, one person has died because of this flood in Osun State. That being the case, what is your perception of the capacity of the state emergency agencies to handle this kind of emergency and disaster?
Well, this has come at a time that what we expect the state agency to have been more proactive than present. Because if the inhabitants had cooperated and the agency had done what it has to do, we will not have situations where lives will be lost, because people will be taken away to safe area and traffic will not be allowed to fly the route. There are cities, I'm not sure if the predictions were accurate enough to affect what is required to be done. I will say that the efforts, I wasn't there, but from the impact that I've seen, the effort of the state emergency agency are not been too effective.
And that that throws up a whole lot of other questions, such as funding. Where will the people have gone in the event that they were given fair warning in the first place? Because we know how difficult it is, not just in Nigeria, but all over the world, in America, when warning is given by federal and state agencies. Some people, not that they take it for granted, but they just hope and pray that it doesn't happen. Finally, what is your advice to the Osun State government and to the people? You mentioned about creating water courses. What is your final word on this?
Well, my final word would be that flash flooding by its nature is an emergency. Therefore, there must be emergency shelters for evacuation. We are also lucky that we are a very social animal. I know that if there's enough warning for people, there will be somewhere they will go. So there must be enough link between the Osun State emergency agency and NIMET, and also the national emergency agency, such that they have enough information. The second thing, which is long-term and more preventive and can reduce the impact, is that the waters, the river courses, the streams must be trained so that there is really nothing that will obstruct them. Also, the very, very bad practice of throwing garbage into our streams and water courses should stop.
And those are the ways we can prevent this. Thank you so much, Professor Oladapo Afolabi, who is an environmentalist, speaking to us on the issue of flooding that's occurring in Osun State. Thank you so much for your time for News Across Nigeria. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, in the South, the governor lends a helping hand to Hausa communities. Stay with us.